Welcome back to the college show presented by Dynasty Nerds. I am your host, Garret Price, and great show planned for today. Very, very excited about it. And we're going to go around the horn here, introduce you to all of the names and beautiful faces we have here. Let's start off with my main guy, Jared Wackerly. Jared, how you doing?
Good. You are so loud. I'm like, the beginning of the show always startles me.
You don't even need to worry about that. That's Pete's job.
I know. Then when I see you in person, I'm always like, oh, there's Garret. There he is. I can hear him across the building.
I think somebody kicked Jared's dog this week. He's very grumpy.
I'm not grumpy. I was not feeling well last night, but then I woke up and the Friday vibes just kind of got to me, and I'm feeling better now. So, no, it's going to be a good show. Happy to be here.
All right, we've got Andrew Mott. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Been making content with you all day, so I'm not complaining about a day like that.
There we go. See, that's how it should be, Jared.
Yeah, what did you guys do today? What content did you guys do today?
Did a live stream this morning.
For what? Start sits?
Yeah.
Nice. That was like your opportunity to tell people that you guys do a live stream, start sits Friday mornings. I was trying to tee it up for you.
Sneaky.
But, you failed.
All right, we've got Jagger. Jagger, how you doing, buddy?
I am good. Like I was telling you guys, this is the last show I do this week, and then I'm moving my entire set. So, guys, collecting books is dope until you got to move them. Just FYI.
Collected. I like that word. I buy a lot of books that don't get read.
In theory, I'm always like, man, I'm going to read more. And then I'm like, oh, there's an audio book of it. Nice. Yeah. And then I just listen to someone read it to me.
Especially those dramatic versions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Best.
All right. Well, on today's show, we are going to be digging into under the radar players for the 2026 class. And this is a fun exercise because at least for me, I'm curious to see how it comes out for you guys. I had my two players and really excited to talk about both of them. Spent a lot of time over the past 2 days, like digging into these guys. And one of the guys I'm more convinced than ever. I'm like, man, this guy, yeah, I really like this guy. I'm excited about him. The other guy, I'm like, he might not be it. I don't know. So it's kind of an interesting process as you dig into these guys. But let's start with you, J-Wack. Who's the first under the radar guy that we should at least keep an eye out on?
So I'm going to start off with a running back that I really liked from watching the tape this offseason coming into this year, and that's Terion Stewart, running back. He's currently at Virginia Tech, and he transferred in from Bowling Green, where he spent 4 seasons. And this kid was on my radar because Garret, he's from Ohio. He was born in Georgia, but he was raised in Sandusky, Ohio. So a name that we've heard around these streets out here. Went to Bowling Green and produced. He's 5'9", 225. His nickname is the Bully, rightfully so. Because when you turn on the tape, like, this kid is so good at breaking tackles and absorbing contact and keeping his feet. So his contact balance is probably his greatest skill set. I was reading an article by PFF, and I got to credit Trevor Sikkema on this research. So there was a 5-year sample size that they pulled of 1,100 running backs with at least 70 carries. So it was over the course of 5 years. And they were tracking missed tackles forced per attempt. And Stewart owned the first ranked rating, the 7th ranked rating, and 32nd rating in that sample size. Damn. So, yeah, like, this kid can break tackles, keep his feet, keep the chains moving. In 2024, his mark in that stat category was 0.40, and that was second amongst all running backs, only behind Ashton Genty last year. And 0.40, just for context, like, that's like the mark of exceptional contact balance or the ability to break tackles. Like, Bijan Robinson had 0.40 in 2021, Javonte Williams 0.48 in 2020. So really good marks. Where he struggles a little bit is just like the top end speed, athleticism, which you typically see from these like smaller school guys that don't get the recruiting the recruiting ranks and all of that because they're just not those explosive top end athletes. So he's not going to run away from everyone, but he's certainly like quick enough, and he has good enough burst to get chunk plays or get explosive plays. So it's not really like a huge concern of mine. Like top end speed's not like make or break for running backs for me. As long as you can, make that first guy miss, which he can do, break tackles consistently, which he can do, keep his feet. And then it's not just that he's a power back. Like he can make you miss too. Like he's got a really good package of, juking you out with a cut or a jump step or a stiff arm. So I really like Terion Stewart. He had a slow start to the year this year. And I don't know if you guys remember, like I mentioned him as like a guy I was watching in our running backs episode, but I couldn't put him in the ranks yet because he hadn't really done anything at Virginia Tech yet because he had a foot injury coming into this year. But last game versus NC State, he finally got like a good workload, 15 carries, 174 yards. He had a huge 85-yard run in that game. Didn't get in the end zone, but it was finally like, okay, there he is. Like he's probably going to get the bulk of the workload going forward at that school. They just had a coaching change, so there's a lot of turmoil there and whatnot. But not going to give you anything in the passing game either. Kind of struggles as a pass blocker. Only has 6 catches his entire career.
Dang.
Yeah, so
because Harold Fanon took them all.
Yeah, more of probably like day 3 back in the NFL draft that could help you out on first and second down if he can get a role like that. But really under the radar, which is what we're talking about today. So I like Terion Stewart, and we'll see how he finishes this season.
Yeah, definitely a name to keep an eye out on. And Jared, for you, if like while we're doing this, when we're looking at these guys, for the most part, these are not players that we're going to be expecting to go. Definitely not day 1, and more than likely not day 2 for a lot of these players, at least. But if you're, looking for the and we're looking at the 2026 class, is he somebody that, even though you're a little worried about like the passing game workload, you think he's good enough in the running game that you could still see yourself taking him in the 4th or 5th round of your drafts?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when watching the tape, like his skill set at the running back position, the traits that he has are things that I really like. The ability to make a guy miss, get 6 or 7 yards, keep his feet through contact, absorb contact, break tackles. Like his size, 5'9", 222 is, I love that compact build, especially for the next level. Like I could see him being, when it's all said and done, still got to see how this year plays out. But I mean, just given the running back class, how there's a lot of question marks still, like he could squeeze into like 6 or 7 around there. So he could even be a 3rd round rookie pick when it's all said and done next year in Dynasty drafts.
All right. Well, Andrew, let's go to your first guy. Who's your first under the radar guy that we're going to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy here who I kind of mentioned him on the wide receiver show, similar to how Jared said he almost mentioned this guy on the running back show, but he didn't crack my top 10. He was a guy who was out of it. And I think we all kind of said that, there's a lot of wide receivers in this class, but there's a lot of information that we're going to have to figure out who's, wide receiver 5 and then who's wide receiver 15, because there's just a large gap of a lot of these guys that they all kind of fit into this bubble. But I'm going to go with Chris Bell, wide receiver for Louisville. He is a senior this year, 6'2", 220 pounds, has seen this consistent, steady growth as a producer at Louisville over the course of his career. And I think, his senior year here kind of is the opportunity for him to put some icing on the cake. He had a really very solid 2024 season, 737 yards, 43 receptions, 4 touchdowns, had some good, breakout games against some decent teams, against Pitt, Stanford, helped his team go win the Sun Bowl last year. So there's definitely things that he's done to produce, and you just want him to take that next step here this year. He's a player who, size-wise and play style-wise, I've seen a lot of people throw around comps to A.J. Brown, and I think it's dangerous to use a name like A.J. Brown for wide receivers like that, but it's really because of that big, physical, compact type of body that has this kind of deceptive speed to his game. People have talked about his track background. I guess he used to run the 200 meter, and he had a 22-second 200 meter, which from my understanding is pretty good for that in high school. I just think this is also a player too that when you look at like traits that you want from your wide receiver, he tracks the deep ball really well. He plays vertically. He wins vertically. So it's going to be a big play threat. He's very physical after the catch, and I think a lot of that is because of that size that he has to his frame, which makes him tough to tackle as well. He can separate pretty well. Still needs to kind of get a little bit better at some of the deceleration, change of speed, change of pace type of stuff when it comes to route running. But I think the size in general and the speed that he has does make him a little bit of a mismatch, because he's going to have to be a player that either plays as this big slot wide receiver, or he's going to be this guy on the boundary that's a little bit faster than some of those boundary cornerbacks as well. So he's going to be a little bit of a mismatch guy. It's going to be interesting to see how an NFL team wants to use him. If I had to like give him some weaknesses to the game, things that probably still need to improve and things that I want to see, change this year, is I need to see a little bit more of a route tree, a full route tree, because right now it's kind of limited. He's running a lot of these vertical intermediate routes, which is, what he's shown he's really good at. But I need to see a little bit more if he's going to be a guy that's going to be a full-time, outside wide receiver, a full-time slot guy, maybe at the next level. We just need to see some more stuff happen there. And I do think he can get a little bit tied up at times when he's in press coverage. But overall, a very solid player. I think he's a player that's going to be interesting to watch, because he may sneak into day 2 where he's like this 3rd-round wide receiver. Maybe he's a 4th-round guy, depending on how he performs at the combine. But just a very solid wide receiver that I think is maybe boring enough that he's not getting talked about like some of the other guys in this class so far.
Jared and Jagger, either one of you guys watch much Bell so far, and what have you thought of him?
I haven't watched much Bell at all, but what's funny, both Jared's guys, your guy and Andrew, like those are on my list of players to get to. Like I always try to get to the big names and work my way down on there. And Chris Bell is at the top of the list. And a lot of that too, it comes down to the program. Like Louisville's done a lot to at least be a relevant program. We saw them bring in Ja'Cory Brooks and what they've done with Tyler Shuck. So that's something else I look at. It's not player scouting, but if a program is doing really good at bringing in talent, at least that is draftable, I think that's super notable. And like I love Andrew's primers on players, because like the buzzwords that you use, I'm like, oh, I like that, so like I definitely want to go look at them,
Yeah, I haven't watched any Chris Bell yet. What was his height, weight again?
6'2", 220.
Okay.
That is very AJ Brown like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least
that's what I'm saying. People throw the term AJ Brown around lightly, but when you look at the way he plays, it looks like AJ Brown in size and stature.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for you to say like 5'11", 190.
No, it's a linebacker at wide receiver. Like that's what he's trying to do.
Love it.
No, I haven't watched any Bell yet.
All right. Well, Jagger, give us your first under the radar guy.
At least this first one, I don't know how under the radar he is, but I know tight end in general is under the radar, and a lot of people are going to be talking about him early. So if you're in a devy league, or if you are in like I'm in a devy league that is double tight end premium. So it is like really important to know what's going on at tight end. Eli Stowers, I think, has the opportunity to be the tight end 1 of this class as a dark horse. I'm not saying anything wrong about Kenyon Sadiq. What I mean is that Eli Stowers might go day 2, and if he gets the ideal landing spot, this is the kind of player that you want at the tight end position. I look at the evolution both in college and NFL, and I think the NFL and their usage of the tight end has actually influenced college and not vice versa, because we've seen the NFL really adjust to these college players, where now, even in college, against a lot easier talent, these coaches are realizing you could put your best athlete at the tight end position. He's going to be one of your top blockers or one of your biggest mismatches. Where Stowers differs is he's not the blocker that Sadiq is, but he's a lot like Brock Bowers in his usage. He is just a pure weapon receiver, where they even pull him in the backfield sometimes. Basically, he's a player when you're on defense where you're constantly looking where his number is because the play is probably flowing through him. And then when you look at that at a tight end, even at a school like Vanderbilt, which mind you, Vanderbilt is an SEC school. It's not like they play scrubs, even though that some may consider them a smaller school. He's incredibly productive, and I feel like I'm going to be taking him early and often. And he was my last devy. I'm only in 2 devy leagues. He was my last pick both times because I'm like, I'm gonna feel really good about this, and everyone's gonna want him, or I'm gonna at least have a good trade chip for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, Vanderbilt's good this year, man. They're I don't know what they're ranked now, but I think they have a big game this weekend. Who are they playing? But no, I like Stowers. I got him in a couple campus to Canton league rosters. So with you there, Jagger, for sure. Really good receiving tight end.
And Diego's, I mean, he's talking the talk there at quarterback and stuff, and he's got that swagger. So it's making Vanderbilt a little more relevant and a little more interesting than they may have been in the past, for sure.
Did you guys watch that SEC documentary on Netflix? Did you guys watch it?
No,
I haven't yet. No.
There's a lot of Vanderbilt in there. There's some DJ Lagway. It's a cool little documentary if you want to see like some of the behind the scenes of those locker rooms.
Nice.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
sure. they got Bama this weekend, so it's a big game.
Yep. This weekend, lock in, folks. Everyone's going to be talking about Eli Stowers. You heard him here first, maybe, probably.
What's his size? What's his size weight?
He's like 6'3". Let me get my sheet up. 6'3" or 6'4", 236. So he's a little lean is a problem,
Yeah.
But like
Receiving
being
guy.
6'4" already, like you could put on muscle in the NFL. I hear they got guys. They got guys that can help with that.
All right. Well, let me get to my first guy here, and I'm going to go with Joey Aguilar, quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. And I'm hoping this is a good noise from Jagger, not a bad noise.
Yeah.
Look, this was a player that I was like, look, I know a little bit about this guy, but I want to dig in. I want to dig in because Tennessee's always a little tricky. They got Mickey Mouse college offense, and so scouting some of their players can be a little bit more difficult than some of the others. But from some of the things that I've seen as far as watching Tennessee this year, I really like what I see. And they had the great overtime game against Georgia, and we know Georgia is obviously typically a very good defensive school, and all of these things. So I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers overall I'm really impressed with. We're looking at over 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. And we're even seeing him run around and use his legs a little bit as well. I'm not talking about like an elite rushing upside, but good mobility in his game. And he has the measurables as well. 6'3", 225. So there's a lot on paper there that I really like. Dig into him more. And I knew he was a transfer, but I didn't know the whole story. We're looking at a guy that's in his 7th season now. So he's been around the block. It's really interesting because he started off like small schools and like worked his way up slowly but surely. So this is a guy that is going to be 24 years old, 25 years old as soon as the NFL season starts next year. So he's definitely an older prospect, but we've seen a lot of that lately. So that doesn't scare me like maybe it once would have.
Not at quarterback.
What's that? Not at quarterback.
Quarterback, it's okay. Kind of prefer.
I prefer it,
exactly.
Actually,
yeah. So I dug into his stats, and I was looking on PFF and reading some notes and watching some things. And one of the big notes that I kept hearing over and over was good arm, all these things, but maybe questionable decision making, a little turnover prone. And I was like, interesting, because as I'm looking at the PFF numbers here, I'm looking at turnover worthy plays, and I'm looking at a lot of the top quarterbacks in this class. Nussmeier, 3%, Mateer, 2.5%, Sellers, 2.5%, Moore, 1.3, Mendoza, 1.3, Joey Aguilar, 0.6. 0.6. And I was like, well, homie has 5 interceptions. How is that the case? So I went back and I made sure to see every turnover. And dudes it's bouncing off their face and their hands and popping straight up in the air for interceptions. Honestly, he legitimately deserves to have one interception. The rest, 3 of them were ones that hit him and popped straight up in the air, and the defense made a pick. The other one, the guy fell down, and it ended up being an interception. So realistically, I'm not as concerned. I think that might be a little bit more like, hey, we're just kind of looking at the box score and saying like, oh, turning the ball over more than we'd like. But really, I don't think this is him. He has got a solid arm. He has good athleticism, and he's got what we want, because we want guys to have 35 or more starts in college football. He's got plenty. We've got no worries about that. So honestly, altogether, seeing him do this against the Georgias and the bigger schools, if he can keep this up, I think he's one of these names that in a class where we have like 8 guys that we're talking about as first round quarterbacks, he could slowly potentially get his name into that mix as well. Jagger, I saw you were excited. So tell me what you think about my guy Joey here.
Yeah, the only pushback I have is actually a positive in a sense of Tennessee's offense, because one of the biggest criticizers of, like you said, their really Disney Mickey Mouse offense. Mm-hmm. I've watched. I mean, they keep putting out prospects since since Hendon Hooker. I've probably watched every snap of Tennessee at some point in there, and in an all 22 film. Since they've gotten Chris Brazell and Joey Aguilar, it has allowed them to elevate their offense, where I don't mean this like tit for tat schematically, but it reminds me of Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson consistently attacks all 3 levels of the field. He lets the quarterback look at the defense, read what's going on in the secondary, and then pick an area of the field to attack. And he constantly sets him up for success. So him having that experience, and then couple that with a wide receiver that can actually run a full route tree, I'm excited for him, because it's like you said, man, this guy has 7 years of football. It's like, cool, man. We get to skip all those Geno Smith, Sam Darnold years and get to the goods,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes these guys just need time. I mean, we saw Mac Jones last night, and now he's in a system that can help the quarterback out. So it's like, it depends on the system. It depends on, the experience level, like where they're at mentally. Like, hey, Garrett, by the way, I got Joey Aguilar in the Talking Dynasty C2C league. So,
so if we need to make a trade at some point.
Yeah, I'm pretty deep at quarterback. So holla at your boy.
All right. We'll see what we can do there. All right. So that wraps up our kind of first go round of our 2026 players that are maybe a little bit under the radar here. So let's move on to the second round of guys. Jared, who's your next one up?
I am going to present to you a 6'3", 185-pound wide receiver by the name of Ted Hurst from Georgia State. Have you guys heard of this kid yet?
First time.
Okay.
Nope. It sounds like a car dealership guy, though. Ted Hurst Chevrolet is what it's going to be.
Ted Hurst Chevrolet.
That's pretty good. So he started off his career at D2 school, Valdosta State. I think that's how you say it. So first 2 years, D2, gets an offer to come to the FBS level from Georgia State last year, and arrives at Georgia State, has a really good season, 961 yards and 9 touchdowns at 17.2 yards per catch. So that statistic right there just kind of highlights who this kid is. So 6'3", 185 pounds, really good athlete. Laser timed 4.5 40, 10.8 broad jump, and 6.93 3 cone, which was highlighted in Bruce Feldman's Freaks list this year, coming into the season that he puts out every year on The Athletic. So those are good times. Those are reported stats, and those are really good numbers. They're not elite, but they're really good. And it sticks out on tape. Like, he can beat you deep, but he not only can beat you deep, he can win those back shoulder balls and adjust his body. He can go up over people and make a catch. Really good basketball player in high school, and that kind of shows up in his tape. I have him on both. I only have 2 C2C leagues now. I have him on both my rosters. So he's a producer, and I only drafted him because I was like, who can I get here late from these like lower tier schools that's going to give me fantasy points, But then sometimes those guys blossom, and you like him. So I really like this kid. And he just some other things that I saw on tape from him. His hands, he catches the ball away from his body, reportedly has 10.5-inch hands. So he has big mitts. He's really lengthy. I think he needs to put on a little weight, but when you turn on the tape, he kind of just sticks out to you because he's like real big out there in a glider. So I like this kid. I think he could be an early, like day 3 pick, probably fourth round. I wouldn't be surprised. Can get in and out of his breaks pretty well for his size too. I think the route running needs cleaned up a little bit, but I was impressed with his ability to get off press. Has done well versus bigger schools. They played Vanderbilt last week. Going into that game, Vanderbilt's head coach said they're going to be playing the best wide receiver that they've seen yet. And I think that could be coach speak, but I think it speaks to who he is as a prospect because they had played South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and they play in the SEC, so they see guys all the time. So Ted Hurst.
You say he was Georgia State?
Georgia State, yep.
Nice. Those are the kind of players when they're playing at those smaller schools like that, but you see like the size is there, the athletic ability is there, the statistics are there. That's a guy I really hope gets an invite to like the Senior Bowl because I really would like to see him up against a level playing field. Because even sometimes when the small schools play the bigger schools, to see that, but it's still so hard sometimes to really get to see everything on a level playing field. So I really hope he gets a Senior Bowl invite so we can kind of see how he matches up against the competition that he's going to be going up against.
Yeah,
especially practice reps, where
100%.
they intentionally put you in situations to see what you're made of.
We should all go to the Senior Bowl. That'd be fun.
We should.
Be really fun.
I'd be down. I mean, fits the show. I feel like we should do a live show from the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh,
Make it happen.
Yeah, Airbnb.
Yeah.
Done and done. All right. So Ted Hurst Chevrolet. We're gonna be keeping an eye on him from Georgia State. All right, Andrew, who you got for your last guy?
Yeah, I have a player who, honestly, the more that I watched, the more I was like, he may not end up being under the radar when it comes time for NFL draft season. And I think he's a player that when we did the wide receiver episode, none of us had in the top 10. I think it's a mistake. I think he probably belongs in the top 10. It's Elijah Surratt, wide receiver out of Indiana. He's a junior. None of you guys had him in the top 10 of your wide receivers, right?
Nope.
He was right on the cusp, and he's been producing, and he's been Mendoza's main guy. So he was definitely on my radar. I just hadn't watched enough of him yet to be able to like say confidently one way or another.
To back you up, you guys know I just dropped my big board. I've had like 3 replies Reddit. They're like Elijah Surratt. So it's like multiple people that are on the drum beat. And I agree with you. I was like he's under the radar today, but
right.
Tomorrow might be different.
Yeah, because like as I was watching him, I was like, this is a guy who's probably got the chance to be a 2nd round pick. And you said most of these guys today are going to be like day 3s. Nah, this guy's day 2, and it's solidified for me already. But you look at like his career progression so far, and this is a guy who, you said with Joey, like has been around the block. So is Elijah Surratt. He started at St. Francis in Pennsylvania as a freshman. He tied their school record there for touchdowns, 42 receptions, 700 yards, and 13 TDs as a true freshman. Then he goes and transfers to James Madison. That year, his sophomore season in 2023, has 82 receptions for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. And then he finds his way over to Indiana in 2024. Had himself almost a 1,000-yard year there as a junior. And then, 53 receptions there with 8 touchdowns. He's here now in his senior year. And I realized I said junior when I mentioned him. He's a senior, actually. But his senior season now, he started off the year on fire. 30 receptions, 388 yards, 6 touchdowns already at this point in the season. So he's producing very, very quickly. And I just think he's a player that if, Indiana keeps playing the way that they do, they have an upcoming game against Oregon here very shortly that, it's going to be a big stage game for him. He can go out and produce in that one. I think that might be like a game where, Jagger saying people are saying Elijah Surratt, they might really be saying it after that Oregon game if he goes out and produces. And overall, just a very, very talented player that has produced at every school that he's went to, and it's continually gotten better. When I look at his game, This is a guy who is an elite hands catcher. I think he's very good, using his body when he's trying to catch the football in traffic. The body control, the adjustment ability in the air, those are all things that I like in his game. He made a crazy catch against Michigan, which was like a 36-yard touchdown, where it's just, if you haven't seen body control and you don't know what I'm saying when I'm like elite body control, go watch that highlight from Michigan because you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Overall, just a very crafty route runner too. I think he probably lacks a little bit of like long speed at the next level, but he's talented enough and probably polished enough as a route runner that it won't matter too much. It may cap his overall ceiling. Like, I don't think we're looking at a guy who's going to end up being, a top 10 dynasty wide receiver when it's all said and done. But I think he's a player who can be on our fantasy football teams and a very reliable player for a good period of time. Like I said, the long speed is something that lacks. I think he could be a little bit better with some of the yak, and I think that's just attributed to the long speed as well. But when I was reading some of these, scouting reports and looking at some of these articles about him, people kept throwing around the comparison of Nico Collins. And they kept saying, like, think of what Nico Collins was when he was coming out of Michigan. And you definitely saw traits there, but he wasn't a NFL ready product when he was drafted right away by the Texans. But they said this is Nico Collins with a little bit less explosion, more polish. So maybe he's a little bit more NFL ready today, just needs, a little bit more explosion. You mentioned a nickname for one of your guys, Jared. The nickname for Elijah Surratt is Waffle House. And the reason why they call him Waffle House is because they said he's always open and ready for business. That's why they call him Waffle House. I don't know why, but they said he's reliable on critical downs. He's always open, so they call him Waffle House. So I thought that was funny. Overall, this is just a player, though, that like I said, I think he's a day 2 guy, probably a round 2 wide receiver if he keeps performing the way that he has. Ideally, probably better in an offense that could use a guy maybe on the outside. Think of like a Cardinals team, a Falcons team, maybe a Baltimore Ravens could use a guy like that as well if DeAndre Hopkins ends up, hanging up the cleats here at the end of the year. He would fit in those offenses very well. But just a player I'm keeping my eye on because he's already got buzz, and I think it's only going to get crazier as the year progresses.
Stylistically, it sounds like you described Rashad Bateman a little bit. Like, I'm thinking about the size and everything that he does, and I don't know how good of a route runner he is, because like at least coming out of college, Rashad Bateman was pretty good. Because I'm looking at the list that I had of my top 24, and like I read, the only thing I haven't done is put scouting eyes on him, and easily I see him pushing Deion Burks down my list. There's like Denzel Boston and Malachi Fields is where things get.
I like him more than Boston. Now that I've watched more of him, I like him more than Boston.
I was about to say that's where stuff gets, because like Fields, I feel better than what my grade came out of him. Where do you feel about him and Jeremy Bernard?
I like Bernard more. I think he's more polished. I think he's a better route runner. I think he has a safer floor. But I think you kind of nailed right where he should be going based off of some of the names that we were looking at in that tier. Mm-hmm. He's like right there with Boston for me. I think if you had to like force me in a devy league today, like you have to pick one of these guys moving forward, I think I lean Surratt over Boston. But they're right there in that same conversation.
Wasn't there Surratt brothers that were like big like 4 or 5 years ago? I can't remember.
The Vikings had a Surratt
Wake Forest
brother that was a linebacker.
Yeah, and he was the brother of the kid from Wake Forest. I didn't know if he was related or not. I don't know if it's spelled the same.
I don't know. I didn't find that out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, dude, I almost did his teammate for this show, Omar Cooper, who's also stuck out to me when watching Mendoza. And I'm like, dude, he's got some weapons out there. Like Surratt does look good too. I like him as well. So I need to dig in. If you're saying second round, like that's high praise. So good stuff, man.
Yeah. Like I said, the more I watched him, especially for like this show, I was like, he was kind of on a list of names going in as like a potential top 10 guy. That was the same with Chris Bell for me. Like I just wanted to today touch on the names that I didn't get to speak a lot about in my top 10. But now after watching Surratt, I'm like, you probably belonged on the top 10 show, and I should have pulled one of those guys off of the show and talked about him today.
It's so early. That's going to happen 5 more times for us. We're like, we thought this guy, but maybe not. And It always happens.
It was Sage Surratt, and his brother was Chaz
Mm.
Surratt, but they spell it differently. They're not
Yeah.
related.
I know
Oh,
both
okay.
of those names. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm glad they're not related because I remember Sage Surratt was getting like first round buzz. I remember watching his tape and I was like, why?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad to see they're not related. So there we go. Hey, Nerd Herd, want to tell you about a show that we've been doing live on YouTube where we go over your teams and we talk about how to fix your broken roster. It's called Roster Rescue. We do it live every single Monday at noon Eastern time. And if you want to get a part of that, just head to our Dynasty Nerds homepage, go under the store tab, and you'll find Roster Rescue right there. Perfect opportunity to get your rosters in shape before the season or even in the middle of the season to make sure that you can win a championship. All right, Jagger, give us your final under the radar guy for the 2026 class.
Mine is I keep falling in love with these USC transfers. It's Waymond Jordan. He's another one where I think he might be underrated now, but in the future we're going to be talking about him as like a day 2, possibly a round 4 guy. And Jared, you kind of talked about this about your first one, your first running back there. These transfers suck at third down. That's just kind of what it is. Either they're very good, like the whole team, they went Memphis offense, we're gonna feed this running back 1,000 carries, or 1,000 passes, or it's the opposite, where we're just gonna run them, and that's what happens. And that's what happened with Waymond Jordan. He went to a community college like JUCO. When I mean like I don't know where Lane Kiffin found him, but he had a good scout out somewhere, and he fits the same model as Woody Marks and then Marshawn Lloyd. Very, very good lateral agility. Doesn't have a lot of weight to him. He won't be a massive thumper. The only thing, again, that's going to hold him back is the experience as a pass blocker, because that's what it always comes down to. Can you anchor? Can you see the blitz just like the quarterback does and adjust and hinge yourself? A lot of these transfers don't have that experience. I don't see a lot of the third down work downfield that we already got with Marshawn Lloyd and with Woody Marks, because like Woody Marks is almost an outlier because he led college football like running backs in career catches just because I think he was at Memphis, but we don't see a lot of that yet. But just as a pure creative runner, it's just natural talent that like you could tell this guy was the absolute athlete with schoolyard bullshit back when growing up, because that's how he kind of runs the ball, and that's how he's just kind of this raw prospect. He does like a little bit of the Shady McCoy carrying the football stuff, but being a creative runner and what Lincoln Riley does with these type of running backs, I think that draft stock is going to be something that could be intriguing once we get into our rookie drafts, and someone that I'm going to take often. And I have him in my top 24 now by default, but like as we get more into the season, I could see him being pushed down just because of that lack of experience.
He came up in one of our shows. Did you have him in your top 10?
Yeah, I had him in my top 10.
Okay. Yeah, so I added him to our film room teams sheet for cut-ups, and I got a text from Matt Cooper, who runs that team for our film room on dynastynerds.com, and he was like, hey, this Waymond Jordan that you added to the sheet, I was just cutting him up. He's a beast, and I took credit for it. I was like, yeah, man, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, I was just kidding. I said, no, that was Jagger. He talked about him on the show. So I have watched a little bit of the USC and he had USC games, and he has stuck out to me. So yeah, Lincoln Riley seems to be, I don't know where he's finding these guys. They're just pulling them out of hats.
He has a type. And I'm into it. I get it.
Apparently it's my type as well.
I like his size too. 5'9", 210. Like that's good.
Yeah. Like low center of gravity, and that's why like really patient behind his blockers sometimes. And like again, I think he's a guy that as the season progresses, he's going to get better because he has that experience in a real offense. So
yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, not to end the show on a downer, but my under the radar guy has some flashes, has some interesting things. But the more I watched, I was like, Actually, I don't know. Maybe he should stay under the radar. Like, and this is nothing against the kid, but I saw some stuff on Bryson Washington, and I watched a little bit of his highlights and things like that, and I'm like, okay, I could see this. 6 foot 216, so he's got a nice build to him, and there's some explosion. There's some good twitch in his game. So I was like, all right, I like that. That's exciting for me. However, the thing that worries me a little bit is, even though I like the twitch, I do think he's got a good low center of gravity and can break some tackles and some things like that. Here's my concern overall. I don't know that he has good vision. And that's something that you can't always tell quickly, but the more you dig in, especially with some all 22 stuff, or, even broadcast, they give you the end zone angles and stuff sometimes where you can kind of see like, oh, why did he do that? So there were certain things that I saw with him where I saw him run into the backs of his offensive linemen. There would be an opportunity to widen a little bit, and he wouldn't. That would have made the angles a lot better for him. He's also, I prefer my running backs to be slow to and quick through, and he's just quick to and quick through. Like, there's not that patience to kind of set up the defense. So while the raw athletic ability, this is the Baylor Bears running back, while the raw athletic ability is there for Bryson Washington, the size is there. So he's not going to like fall off my radar. I'm not writing him off. But vision tends to, it doesn't always work out this way, but tends to be something either you have or you don't.
Yes.
It's not something that typically improves significantly over time. So that is my concern. While the measurables, while all of that stuff is there, the more nuanced I got, the more turned off I was. So I feel bad because we're like, get this guy. Oh, he's so exciting. And then I'm like, just kidding. So it's kind of a bummer, but these are things that we need to know as well. Part of this process isn't just finding the guys we do want. It's identifying the guys that we're not sure we do. And the nice part for him is he's only a redshirt sophomore, so he does have time to maybe improve. But like I said, vision is not one of those things that typically gets a lot better over time. So a little bit of a weary look at this player. I like him, but not enough.
That could
I
be
appreciate
somebody
the honesty.
You said you appreciate the honesty?
Yeah, he could come in here and be like, like I gave a guy that I didn't love, but let's hype him anyway, and he didn't. So
yeah, I think that's interesting too, because it's like, think about your dynasty rookie drafts, right? Like, you're probably most people are drafting 48, 50 players, some people even more than that when it comes to those rookie drafts. You're not going to love 50 players. There's not something to love about, all of these guys. But you have to find things that you do like about them, or things that you think, okay, if he lands in the right situation, if it's the right scheme, the depth chart in front of him is murky enough, or whatever it may be, they are these traits that I do like about this player where he could become fantasy football relevant. And I think that's like something where we've seen a little bit this year. It hasn't translated to fantasy points yet, but like a Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt, the depth chart was murky enough ahead of him, and there were traits to like about his game. Just lands in the right situation, and he's still somewhat fantasy football relevant for you. You probably could have made a profit off of him in those fantasy football leagues already in the trade room, because you were aware of traits and situations. So even if you don't love everything about the player, you don't think he's going to be a day 2 guy, you don't think he's going to be a smash rookie pick, there's still value to be had in finding what those specific traits are and being aware of these players in general.
Well said. Awesome. I agree. And just to hit back on Bryson Washington, like, he's like a huge producer for college leagues and campus to Canton leagues. So he was pretty early pick. So I looked at him a good bit, like going into the offseason drafts in those leagues. And Garrett, I had the same takeaways as you. And I honestly, I was just like, I'm not going to draft this guy like first, second round. I'm going to go with one of these high profile recruits instead, So I was right there with you, and, briefly studying, not like I watched 5 games or something, but yeah. So
I will say in this process, because I've looked at a few different players now that are actually sophomores. And I'm like, this makes me start to feel a little bit better about the 27 running back class.
Dude.
Because
that class in general, damn.
It's starting to look, I mean, it was already looking good. But did you see, this is such a random, like outside the box note, but another guy, forget what his last name is. His first name's Fluff, though, from Mississippi State.
Bothwell.
You guys seen this kid?
Oh, yeah. I have him.
Dude, he looks good.
You know what I have?
That's true. That's fair. Dude, he's
good,
like,
man. He I think he started at South Alabama. I think that's where he played last year. Yeah.
I was like, dude, this Fluff
freshman.
kid is a fantastic name, by the way.
Yes.
And, but he looks interesting. And then you have Hardy, and yeah, it could end up being a very good class.
Do you guys ever do you ever go to like people's houses on Sundays to watch the games and, you know, with normies, and they ask you like, oh, so who are you watching on your teams? I'm like, dude, I am in like 15 leagues. I own everyone. It doesn't matter. I get to just kind of enjoy the games. If I lay some bets, like that's what I'm into. But yeah, I don't know. That's what, cause I just been saying like, oh, I have this guy. I have this guy in this league. I have this guy, you know.
It is true. My girls love to do that. Dad, who do you want to win?
Yeah.
I don't really care who wins, but I need this guy to do well.
Yeah.
We want lots of fantasy points. I don't care who wins. Just give me lots of fantasy points on my teams and not my opponent's teams. But there's probably crossover anyway, so it doesn't matter. But no, I have a hard time watching football. You said normies. I have a hard time watching football with normies, man. It's
I do too.
It's tiresome to try and like sit there, and then it feels like I'm being interviewed about the game. I'm like, brother, I just want to watch this. Like,
I know, dude. It's like they think you know everything. I'm like, well, fantasy football. Have you played it? It's a pretty high variance game.
Yeah, that's the worst, man. Being an analyst and your friends who like still don't think you're shit, like, you know, like they don't care at all.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, don't you study this all day? And I'm like, yeah, man,
gosh, yep.
it's still betting. You know,
Sorry,
like,
I got 3 guys on IR. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Madden.
All right. Well, guys, wrapping up the show here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to keep this going each and every week of the regular season. And then we'll see what happens in the offseason. We might just not stop. We might just keep this going all the way to the draft and then get you ready for the following year. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this as much as we are. Remember, like and subscribe all of this content that we have coming out. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.